The 1980s marked one of the most dramatic shifts in the history of American automobiles. During this period, cars across the United States became more compact, saw major reductions in engine size, and transitioned from rear-wheel drive to front-wheel drive. This decade also saw the discontinuation of many beloved and popular car models. Here's a list of 5 noteworthy cars from the 1980s that were unfortunately canceled, but truly deserved a place in the 1990s and beyond. The AMC Eagle, produced from 1980 to 1988, was a groundbreaking vehicle, far ahead of its time despite its somewhat dated platform and styling, which originated from the 1970 AMC Hornet. AMC managed to keep the Eagle looking modern and relevant throughout its production run. This unique car came well-equipped, offering options like leather seats and various power and convenience features. Initially available in several body styles, a sporty 2-door hatchback, a 4-door sedan, and a 4-door station wagon, under the hood, the Eagle featured a robust 4.2-liter inline 6-cylinder engine. Some model years also offered a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine. What truly set the AMC Eagle apart was its innovative select-drive 4-wheel drive system, introduced midway through the 1981 model year. The Eagle had significantly higher ground clearance compared to typical cars and handled well on the road, yet it was just as capable off-road as the other 4-wheel drive Jeeps produced by AMC. Despite its potential, the Eagle was discontinued after the 1988 model year, shortly after Chrysler Corporation acquired AMC. Had Chrysler provided the Eagle with the platform and styling updates it deserved, this innovative vehicle might have continued into the 1990s and beyond. If the 4-wheel drive Eagle had not been discontinued, it would likely still be around today, competing with popular models like the Subaru Outback wagon. Buick Grand National. During the 1980s, while many car manufacturers were reviving V8-powered rear-wheel drive muscle cars, Buick took a different path. From 1984 to 1987, they introduced the Buick Grand National, a 2-door muscle car powered by Buick's turbocharged 3.8-liter V6 engine. Available exclusively in a sleek black exterior, it quickly became one of the most iconic cars on American streets during the 1980s. The first Grand National, released in 1982, sported a 2-tone gray and silver exterior. Out of the 215 units produced in 1982, only a few were equipped with Buick's turbocharged 3.8-liter V6. However, it was the reintroduction of the Grand National in 1984, with its all-black exterior and every performance part Buick could muster. The 1984 to 1985 Grand National produced 200 horsepower, giving it an edge over much of its muscle car competition at the time. In 1986, Buick added an intercooler, boosting the power to 235 horsepower, and further increased it to 245 horsepower in 1987. However, these ratings were significantly underestimated, with the true output for both model years likely falling between 275 to 300 horsepower. The 1986-1987 Buick Grand National became the fastest accelerating American production car of its time, a title that had previously belonged to the Chevrolet Corvette. In 1987, Buick partnered with ASC McLaren to produce a limited, higher performance version of the Grand National, known as the GNX. Only 547 GNXs were built in 1987, compared to the 2,194 Grand Nationals produced that year. The GNX demonstrated the future potential of the Buick Grand National had it continued into the 1990s. Unfortunately, the Grand National did not return for the 1988 model year because GM discontinued the rear-wheel drive G-body platform it relied on. Number 3, the Cadillac Cimarron. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Cadillac excelled at researching and identifying what would become one of the fastest-growing segments in the luxury vehicle market: compact luxury cars. Why are compact luxury cars so important? Firstly, they can be sold in much higher volumes compared to more expensive luxury models. Secondly, they attract a new pool of young buyers who are likely to purchase more expensive models from the brand as their income and financial stability increase. This is where the front-wheel drive, 4-door 1982 to 1988 Cadillac Cimarron came into play. It was designed to offer Cadillac luxury and technology to a younger audience. On paper, it was a brilliant plan, After all, Cadillac had successfully executed a similar strategy with the smaller, rear-wheel drive 1976 Seville, which was partially based on the budget-oriented Chevrolet Nova. However, the Cimarron turned out to be a disaster. While the 1976 Seville did not resemble the 1976 Nova, the 1982 Cimarron looked like a rebadged 1982 Chevrolet Cavalier. Unfortunately, Cadillac failed to invest the time needed to give the Cimarron its own distinctive exterior styling to complement its leather interior. By 1985, a 130-horsepower, 2.8-liter V6 engine became an optional feature, giving the Cimarron the power boost it needed. The underpowered four-cylinder engine was phased out by 1987. When equipped with a 5-speed manual transmission, the 2.8-liter V6 Cimarron provided a driving experience reminiscent of European touring cars, with commendable handling and acceleration. By 1987, the Cimarron's exterior styling had finally evolved to resemble a Cadillac more than a Chevrolet, as Cadillac had initially envisioned for the model in 1982. However, production was canceled at the end of the 1988 model year. 4. The Mitsubishi Starion. Mitsubishi entered the U.S. car market later than Honda, Toyota, and Datsun, but its market share grew rapidly during the 1980s due to its partnership with the Chrysler Corporation. This partnership, which began in the 1970s, allowed Mitsubishi to enter the U.S. market by producing Dodge and Plymouth models that were rebadged versions of its cars. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Mitsubishi continued to produce cars for various Chrysler Corporation brands. Additionally, it began selling vehicles under the Mitsubishi brand name in the early 1980s. During this time, it introduced the rear-wheel drive Starion for the 1983 model year to compete in the American two-door sports coupe market. The Starion featured a 145-horsepower turbocharged 2.6-liter four-cylinder engine, offering excellent performance for its era. However, it was the 1986 to 1989 Starion ESIR, the wide-body version of the Starion, that truly established the Starion's performance car credentials. Equipped with an intercooler version of the turbo 2.6L four-cylinder engine, it delivered 176 or 188 horsepower, depending on the model year. The Starion ESIR was fun to drive, offered great handling, and was a fast car that outperformed many of its era's performance vehicles. Not to mention, the Starion was one of the best-looking performance cars of its era, resembling a sleeker and more muscular version of the Porsche 944. Pontiac Fiero, North America's mid-engine, two-passenger production car. One of the 10 best cars of 1984, says Car and Driver. Fiero, fuel-injected, economical, and only from Pontiac. Pontiac builds excitement, much like the Cimarron. The Fiero was canceled before it could reach its full potential. When it was first released for the 1984 model year, the Fiero became America's first mid-engine sports car. However, to get the Fiero approved for production by GM management, Pontiac had to make budgetary compromises. As a result, the 1984 Fiero was not the well-rounded sports car that Pontiac initially envisioned. The 1984 Fiero was a two-seater sports car that handled well and looked like a European mid-engine sports car, but was only equipped with an underpowered 92-horsepower 2.5L four-cylinder engine, and its steering feel was not very precise. In 1985, a 140-horsepower 2.8-liter V6 with multi-point fuel injection became an optional feature, giving the Fiero the much-needed power boost. You could see it getting a little better each year. Pontiac gradually improved the Fiero, and by 1988, the GT and Formula models boasted impressive power output, handling, steering feel, and braking, leading GM to cancel the Fiero midway through the 1988 model year. The Fiero deserved to continue because a new, sleeker second-generation model was planned for release in the 1989 or 1990 model year. This version would have weighed no more than 3,000 pounds and featured an available 3.4 LDOHC V6, producing between 200 and 220 horsepower. This higher performance Fiero would have given Pontiac a reasonably priced, genuine high-performance, two-seat mid-engine sports car capable of competing with much more expensive European two-seat sports cars.